Siberia, the long winter. Siberia is wide and white like an endless sheet of paper. On this paper, the wind writes thin lines across the snow. The forest breathes slowly, like a big animal sleeping under a blanket of ice. In this far place, far from towns and trains, there's a small wooden house near a dark line of fir and birch. Inside the house lives a family of 4.5, Father Mikhail, Mother Irina, their son Yakov, their little daughter Anya, and Cora, a wolf dog with strong legs and calm golden eyes. The winter is not only a season here, it is a teacher. It gives lessons every day. It teaches patience when the fire burns too fast and the logs are few. It teaches respect when the river hides thin ice under fresh snow. It teaches silence because sound carries far across the cold air and animals listen. This year, winter comes early. The first snow arrives in late October while the last yellow leaves still hold to the birch branches. Yakov presses his hand to the window glass and watches the flakes fall. The glass is cold, and the cold goes into his skin like needles. He is 12 now, tall for his age, with dark hair and a serious face. He wants to be strong like his father, but he has his mother's quiet eyes. He knows that this winter will be important. His father has said so. Yakov, Mikhail told him the night before the first snow, this season you will walk the trap line with me from the first day to the last. You will carry your share. You will learn to read the snow as if it is a book. Yakov nodded. He did not say he was afraid. He did not say his hands shook when he cleaned his father's rifle. He only looked at Cora, who lay by the stove and felt braver because of the dog's steady breath. Anya, 7 years old, wants to come too. She follows Yakov everywhere in the house, her small feet light on the wooden floor. I can carry a little pack, she says. I can whistle for Cora. I can be quiet like a mouse. Mother Irina smiles and touches Anya's hair. You are already a good helper, she says, but this winter you will help me here. The house is also a forest. There are fires to feed, rugs to beat, and stories to keep warm, and we will wait for the men to return each time. Anya does not like this answer, but she accepts it because she loves her mother's stories. Irina's stories are not fairy tales. They are strong and plain like good bread. She tells of storms and seasons, of rivers breaking open in spring, of the long path of the sun in summer, and of the slow, careful moon in winter. Cora understands everything without words. The dog is part wolf, part husky, and all heart. He does not bark much. He watches. He knows when the children are sad and puts his heavy head under their hands. He knows when Mikhail is thinking, and he lies still beside him, eyes half closed, ears awake. The morning after the first snow, the world is quiet in a new way. The yard is full of round white shapes, the tops of buckets, the handle of the well, the wooden sled. The fence posts look like small white hats. The line of the forest is closer, as if the trees have stepped forward in the night. Mikhail stands outside with his fur hat and coat, his breath rising like smoke. He checks the sky, the direction of the wind, and the way the snow lies on the eastern side of the trees. Good, he says. The snow is dry. It will whisper under boots, but it will not grab. We can start. They begin with simple things. Yakov brings in wood from the shed and stacks it by the stove. He learns to place the small pieces first, the dry ones that catch fast, then a bigger log to hold the heat. He learns to use the iron poker gently, not to break the fire, but to guide it like a horse. He learns to keep his gloves near the stove, but not on it. Irina shows him a pair of old gloves, burnt and curled, and he laughs and then stops when she says, These were mine. In the afternoon they check the river. It is not ready yet. It looks solid, but Mikhail shows Yakov the dark blue places near the bend. Here the water runs faster, he says. Ice will be thin. A fox can cross, a man cannot. You must know the difference with your eyes and with your ears. They listen. Ice sings. It makes high, thin sounds like a wine glass touched by a finger. That is good, says Mikhail. Singing ice is strong ice, but in the bend it is quiet. Quiet ice can be death. That night, after soup and bread, Mikhail spreads a map on the table. It is not a store map. It is a map he has made with his own hand, with pencil and small, careful writing. It shows the lines of the river and the shapes of hills. It shows little symbols for fir stands and birch groves, for marsh and deadfall, for beaver slides and marten runs. It shows the route of the trapline they will walk, week after week, in loops and long lines and shortcuts only Mikhail knows. You will carry this map in your head, he tells Yakov. You cannot always open a paper in a storm. You must see it right here. He taps Yakov's forehead with a rough finger. Irina listens from the stove, where she is drying wet socks on a line. Her face is tired, but her eyes are bright. Remember also, she says, that the map is not the forest. The forest is alive. It changes every day. The animals know their own maps. You must learn theirs too. Anya sits on the floor with Cora and holds his ear softly. I will learn the map of the house, she says, where the best crumbs fall, where the warmest place is when the wind comes from the north. The warmest place is under the table, says Cora with his eyes, and everyone laughs. 2 days later, they set out for their first long walk. The snow is knee-deep now and powdery. The sky is a pale gray sheet. The air smells like iron. Yakov wears wool pants and felt boots and 2 pairs of socks. He carries a small pack with rope, a tin cup, a knife, a little first aid kit, and a piece of fat pork wrapped in cloth. Mikhail carries more. Tools, traps, extra clothes, tea, and the rifle in a leather case. Cora runs ahead and then circles back, his fur catching snow like bright dust. They move through the trees in a quiet rhythm. Step, step, breath. The forest is a book, and Mikhail reads aloud with his hands. Here, he shows Yakov a line in the snow where a hare passed in the night, 4 prints like little commas. There, he shows the delicate trail of a mouse, a thin dash under a fallen branch. They find fox tracks, light, straight, careful. They find the wide, heavy marks of a moose. They find nothing where there should be something, and Mikhail nods as if this is also a kind of track. At the first creek, they stop. The water is mostly ice, but not everywhere. Mikhail cuts a small hole with his axe, and Yakov watches the way his father's arms move. Sure, smooth, not wasting strength, they boil tea on a little stove and eat bread with the fat pork. The tea is black and strong. The steam smells like home. Why do the fox tracks go so straight? Yakov asks. He wants to learn everything at once. His questions are like sparks. Foxes know where they are going, Mikhail says. They do not wander. They listen with their feet. If you want to catch a fox, you must think like a fox. You must make your line straight, too. What about wolves? Yakov asks, glancing at Cora. Wolves run where deer run, and deer run where fear is less, Mikhail says, eyes soft but serious. Wolves are a family. They are more than one animal. Remember that. Cora lifts his head as if to say he knows this already. By noon, they reach the first place marked on Mikhail's map, a narrow funnel between 2 low ridges where animals often pass. The snow here is full of old prints. Mikhail shows Yakov how to set a snare for a hare. how to touch the branches without shaking snow, how to leave no smell on the wire. He shows how to place a small piece of apple in the right spot, not too near, not too far. Yakov's hands are cold in his thin gloves, but he does not complain. He wants to make his father proud. He wants the forest to accept him. They move on, deeper into the trees, moving from point to point on the invisible map. They set more snares, and then they set a marten trap near a line of old stumps. Mikhail explains that marten like to move along fallen trees, jumping from trunk to trunk in the dim light. He shows Yakov how to fix the trap so it will work even in heavy snow. He tells a story about a trapper who set his traps too low and caught nothing but broken ice. In the afternoon, the sky darkens earlier than Yakov expects. The light changes from gray to blue. The air grows sharper. They turn toward home, their steps slower now. Cora stays close. Once he stops and shows his teeth at the black mouth of a fallen spruce. Mikhail looks inside with his flashlight and smiles. "Just wind," he says, but Yakov feels his heart beat fast for a few minutes after. They reach the house at dusk. Irina has made soup with potatoes and onion and little pieces of dried fish. The smell fills the whole room like a song. Anya runs to the door and almost falls because her socks slide on the floor. "You are back!" she cries. "Did you catch the big winter already?" She means cold. "Not yet," Mikhail says, pulling off his boots, "but we have said hello to it." They sleep well that night, with Cora at the foot of Yakov's bed and the wind tapping at the window like a careful visitor. In his dreams, Yakov walks through the forest, and the snow writes new lines as he goes. He feels that the forest is watching him, but not in a cruel way. It is like a teacher waiting for a student to answer. The next day, the real work begins, walking the line, checking what the night has brought. The first snare is empty but shows a story. The snow around it is disturbed. A hare came, sniffed, turned, and left. "Oh? Too much of your smell," Mikhail says, not angry, just calm. "Wash your hands with snow first. Always let the cold take the smell away." The second snare holds a rabbit. Yakov's breath catches. He kneels in the snow and touches the animal's soft ear. He feels sorry and proud at the same time. He feels the true weight of the forest's lessons. They thank the animal in the way Irina taught them. Not with big words, but with a simple moment of silence. Cora waits quietly, as if he understands this is a serious minute. Farther along, they find the marten trap full of snow and useless. "This is also a lesson," Mikhail says. He opens the trap, cleans it, sets it again, higher this time, under a thicker branch. He shows Yakov how to build a small roof of twigs to keep the snow from falling straight in. "In winter, think above as much as below," he says. For 3 days, then 5, then 7, they keep the rhythm. Out at dawn, back at dusk, warm soup, early sleep. The body finds the pace. Yakov learns the names of things he already knew with his eyes, the way blue shadows lie across untouched snow, the way smoke stands straight up when there is no wind, the way a crow's voice can mean fresh meat somewhere near. Anya keeps the house map. She lights the fire with her mother, watches the kettle, sweeps the floor, and tells Cora the news when he returns. "Today a fox came close to the chicken pen," she says, even though they do not keep chickens now. Only the small story of chickens from last year. Today the wind smelled like pine candy. She draws in a school notebook, small pictures of snow lines and big eyes. She waits for Yakov to tell his day in the evening. She asks questions without stopping, and he answers with more words as each day passes, because he is learning the language of the forest and wants to share it. One morning, the world is different. The sky is open and hard blue. The cold is sharper than before. It makes the inside of Yakov's nose hurt. The snow makes a sound like glass when he steps on it. Cora is excited and tense. His tail is high. He runs a little ahead, then stops and looks back, ears forward, body still. "What is it?" Yakov whispers. Mikhail squints at the snow where Cora stands. He points with his chin. There, between the birch and the fir, runs a set of prints, not fox, not dog. The prints are large and the line is straight. The nails show at the top of each pad, and the back foot steps into the front foot's print, making a neat line of doubled marks. "Wolf," Mikhail says softly. The word does not carry far. It falls into the snow like a small stone. He kneels and touches the edge of the print with one finger. "Fresh," he adds, "from the last hours." Yakov's heart swings between fear and wonder. He has seen wolves from far away in other winters, moving like gray shadows across the river ice. He has heard their voices on deep nights, when the moon is strong and the sky is full of stars like ice dust, but he has never followed tracks so clear, so near. He looks at Cora. The dog's fur stands a little on his neck, but his eyes are not afraid. They are bright, and they ask a question. "Are we going?" Mikhail stands and looks at the sky, at the line of trees, at the way the wind touches the snow on the ground. He listens. The forest is holding its breath. "We will not follow," he says finally. "We will parallel." He shows Yakov how to walk in a line that stays near the wolf prints, but does not climb into them. "We read," he says. "We do not shout our reading." They move along the line for an hour, maybe more. Time is different in the cold. The tracks stay straight, cross a small stream, rise over a low hill. Then they open into a mess, a wide place of torn snow, many prints, deep marks. Here, the wolf met other wolves, or maybe a deer, or something happened. Mikhail walks around the edge, careful not to step inside the story. He looks at each mark for a long time. "A meeting," he says. "Not a kill. See? No blood, no hair, no meat marks. Many feet, a circle, a lot of smell." He smiles a little. Family came together and spoke. Yakov looks at the circle. He imagines the wolves standing close, tails moving, ears turning, voices rising in short sounds, long sounds, sounds that say, "I am here, and you are here, and we are together." He feels warm in his chest. He thinks of his own family by the stove at night, the way they speak without saying everything. He puts his hand on Cora's back. Cora does not move. He stands very still, as if he too is listening to the story inside the snow. When they return home that night, Irina listens to the news with eyes that shine. "They spoke," she repeats. "Good. Let them keep speaking. Let them keep the deer in motion and the sick ones out of the herd. Let them leave our yard alone." Anya asks if wolf families tell jokes. Mikhail says maybe. "Maybe they joke about men who walk too straight," he says, and his smile makes lines around his eyes. Yakov laughs and feels the day settle in his bones like a good weight. Days go by. The trap line gives what it gives. Some days there is nothing, some days there is one hare, then two, then a marten. Once there is a fox, and Yakov feels a sharp mix of joy and sadness again. They use everything. They waste nothing. Irina stretches the skins, salts them, works them with her careful hands while she hums a low song. Anya listens to the sound of the scraper on the hide and thinks it sounds like the river when it is almost, but not quite, frozen. One afternoon, a storm begins. It starts as a whisper and grows into a voice. The sky closes, the wind builds. Snow comes in long, fast lines that hide the world in minutes. Mikhail decides to turn back early. "We do not fight a storm," he says. "We move with it, or we wait." But the storm moves faster than they do. The forest becomes white noise. The path disappears. Even the trees look strange, like ghosts. Cora stays close to Mikhail's leg. Yakov follows Cora, watching the dog's tail for direction. They walk like this for an hour, maybe two. It is hard to know. The cold tries to get inside Yakov's clothes, inside his thoughts. He keeps thinking of the map in his head, the faint line of the river, the shape of the hill near the old spruce. They stop under a thick fir where the wind is softer. Mikhail makes a small, fast shelter with a tarp and branches. He shows Yakov how to pack snow to make a low wall. He lights the small stove with hands that do not shake. "We drink tea," he says. "We let the storm speak. Then we go when it is finished speaking." They huddle close. The tea tastes like life. Cora lies with his back to the wind and his nose on Yakov's knee. Yakov feels his fear melt a little, replaced by a strange happiness. He thinks, "I'm in the middle of winter with my father and Cora, and the world is very big and very small at the same time." He smiles without meaning to. When the storm slows, they move again. The light is flat, but the trees show their true shapes. The forest gives a small sign, a broken branch he remembers, a stump with a face like a sleeping man. And soon they see the thin smoke of their own chimney, straight against the pale sky. Anya runs to the door, and Irina stands behind her, her hands on the girl's shoulders. Inside, the air is warm and full of soup smell again. They take off their wet things, rub their hands, sit close. Irina brings bowls, and Anya brings a small story. "Today I saw a snow hare," she says. "It sat near the fence and looked at me like I had said its name." "What is a snow hare's name?" Yakov asks. Anya thinks. "Maybe its name is Quiet," she says, "because it moves without sound." "Then we will call it Quiet," Irina agrees, "and we will not set a snare near the fence for a few days." Mikhail gives Irina a look that is half love and half question. Can we afford to be soft? And she gives him a look back that is half love and half answer. We can, for one small hair. He nods. That night, Yakov writes in a tiny notebook he keeps under his pillow. The paper is rough, the pencil is stubby. He writes, "I saw where wolves met and spoke. The snow keeps their words. The forest keeps ours, too." He does not show the notebook to anyone. It is not a secret, but it is his. A week later, something changes again. The moon grows fat and bright. The nights are colder. The sound of the forest is different, as if everything is pulled tight like a drum. On a clear morning, they find new wolf prints crossing their trapline in 3 different places. The prints are deep and sure. Cora is alert but calm. Mikhail looks long at each crossing and says only, "They are moving more now. They are hunting to the west." "Will they come close to the house?" Yakov asks. "Not if we are careful," Mikhail says. "Not if we keep our things clean and our yard quiet. Wolves are not foolish. They do not want our trouble. They want their own trouble." "What is a wolf's trouble?" Anya asks at dinner. "Snow that is too deep," Irina says, "and ice that is too sharp, and hunger that is too long. Also men who forget that wolves have families." She looks at Mikhail. He nods. The next day, Yakov and Mikhail take a different route, a long loop that passes a strange open place the family calls the White Bowl. It is a low depression ringed by birch, and snow collects there like water. In the White Bowl, they find a story written for them. The marks of a hunt. Deer tracks run fast and wild across the open snow. Wolf prints circle and straighten, like lines on a page becoming sentences, then a full paragraph. In the center there is red on white, a hard color. There are hair and marks of teeth and snow thrown high, like the last words spoken too loud. Mikhail studies the scene without stepping into it. He does not smile. He does not turn away. He only nods once. This is the forest being itself, he says. The wolves eat, the deer run, the cold says nothing. Yakov feels his throat tight. He is sad for the deer and full of respect for the wolves. He is hungry and not hungry at the same time. He looks at Cora, who stands still with his head low, as if paying respect to something bigger than any of them Yakov wants to speak. But there are no good words. Come, Mikhail says softly. We will leave this place as we found it. They step back into the trees. The snow swallows their sound. That night there is a strange feeling in the house. It is not fear. It is not peace. It is a feeling like being watched by the moon. Irina lights an extra candle, not for magic, but for comfort. She tells a story about her grandfather who saw a wolf pack cross a frozen lake at dawn, silent as breath, long as a train. He said their eyes were like coals, she says, and their bodies were the color of fog. Anya listens with her mouth open. Yakov listens with his fists closed around the edge of his chair. Before sleep, Yakov goes outside with Cora to fill the wood basket. The sky is black and full of stars, so many that it makes him dizzy. The cold is deep and dry, the snow creaks under his boots. He hears nothing. Then, far away, like a line drawn across the night, a sound rises. It is one voice, then two, then many. The sound is not sad and not angry. It is what it is, a wolf pack speaking to itself over the open whiteness under the iron sky. Yakov stands very still. Cora stands with him. The sound goes into Yakov's bones, into the map in his head. He thinks of the white bowl, of the circle in the snow where wolves met without killing, of the storm tea, of Anya's snow hair named Quiet, of his mother's hands working a hide, of his father's pencil map, of the way Cora always knows where to stand in the wind. When the sound fades, the night is larger, and Yakov is smaller and bigger at the same time. He lifts the basket. He goes inside. He closes the door softly because the night feels like a person who is sleeping and must not be woken quickly. Irina looks up. All well? She asks. Yes, Yakov says. The wolves are far. He pauses, then adds, and near. Mikhail meets his eyes and understands. He nods once, the nod of a man who knows the forest's grammar. Sleep, he says. Tomorrow's a long page. Yakov lies in his bed, Cora at his feet. He does not open his notebook. He does not need to write tonight. The words are already in the air above his pillow, quiet and steady. He closes his eyes. He sees tracks like lines on a clean page. He sees the white bowl, empty now, full of cold light. He hears his mother's song without words. He hears the low wind across the roof. He hears, far in memory, the wolves speaking, not to him, not against him, but through the winter itself. He sleeps, and in the morning, the first pale light touches the window, and the new day waits like a fresh sheet of snow. The forest narrows, the wolves move closer. The next morning begins in a different way. The cold is sharper, the light is thinner, and the forest feels tighter, like everything has stepped one pace closer to the house. When Yakov opens the door to bring in wood, the air bites his face so quickly that he pulls his scarf higher without thinking. Cora follows him out, ears high, nose working in quick movements. Something is different, and the dog feels it before any of the humans do. Inside, Arena is making porridge with melted butter. The smell is warm and soft. Anya sits at the table drawing in her notebook, her tongue lightly touching her lip as she concentrates. She is drawing the wolf tracks Yakov described the night before. Her wolves have long legs and bright eyes, and she writes their names under them, even though she does not know their real names, North, Echo, Snowback, and Smalltooth. She says every pack must have names. When Mikhail comes in from checking the sky, he shakes snow from his hat and waits a second before speaking. That pause tells Yakov everything his father is choosing words carefully, the way he does when something is serious, not dangerous yet, but close. The wolves are moving, Mikhail says simply, not toward us but across the old marsh. When a pack crosses early in the season, it means the deer have changed their path. Yakov nods. He understands the basic rule. When prey moves, predators move. When predators move, the forest changes shape. Today we walk the western line, Mikhail adds. His voice is calm. It is longer, harder, but we must see what the night has written. Cora makes a low sound, not a growl, not a whine, something between alertness and readiness. Even Anya stops drawing. Will you be long? She asks. Maybe, Mikhail replies. Storm signs in the sky, but we know the way. After breakfast, they dress carefully. Yakov's boots, felt in wool, are warm but heavy. His coat smells faintly of smoke from the stove, which somehow comforts him. Cora circles them with a slow, controlled step. The dog does not waste energy. Every movement has meaning. When they step outside, the world is painfully bright. Snow reflects the early sun like a sheet of white metal. The forest edge looks closer than usual, as if the trees have leaned forward to listen. The first part of the walk is easy. The snow is shallow near the house, and the wind has not erased the old tracks yet. Yakov recognizes his own footprints from yesterday, lighter, less straight than Mikhail's. He tries to step more confidently today. The western line takes them through thicker forest. The trees here grow taller and narrower, creating long corridors of shadow. Snow hangs on the branches in heavy shapes like sleeping birds. Yakov walks quietly and lets the forest sounds come to him. He hears the soft crunch of Cora's paws, the faint snap of a branch far away, the whisper of falling powder from high trees, the cold silence that fills every space between sounds. Mikhail stops often to show Yakov small details. A claw mark on a tree where a marten climbed, a broken twig where a deer ran, the faint smell of fox on a low branch. Yakov is learning to use all his senses. The forest is becoming less of a wall and more of a map. But then they reach a place where the snow tells a different story. The second trap point is empty, completely empty, not just untouched. Erased. Snow is smoothed, flattened, brushed clean. Mikhail kneels and looks closely. Cora stands beside him, nose down. What is this? Yakov asks quietly. A wolf, Mikhail answers. One wolf, maybe two. He touches the snow with 2 fingers. They did not want what we left. They wanted to know who passed here. Yakov shivers, not from cold. They studied us? He asks. Mikhail nods. Wolves watch everything. They pass close without being seen. They smell tools, leather, metal, smoke. They know more about us than we know about them. This idea makes the forest feel different, not hostile, just aware. They move on. The next snare holds nothing. The third holds a hare. The fourth is destroyed completely, snapped in half by something far too strong to be a fox. Mikhail studies the break, running his thumb along the splintered wood. Wolverine, he says, strong and hungry. Keep distance if we meet one. They fear nothing. Yakov nods, swallowing once. He has never seen a wolverine, only heard stories. By midday the sky changes. Clouds gather into a thick gray ceiling. The temperature drops quickly, the kind of drop that warns experienced people. Move faster. They stop to drink tea under a group of spruces. The air tastes metallic. Cora's fur rises in a slow wave along his back. He is staring into the forest, completely still. What do you see? Yakov whispers. Mikhail follows the dog's gaze. For a long moment he sees nothing, then movement. A shape. Then stillness. Then the faintest shift of shadow against shadow. A wolf. No, two. Far enough not to be a threat, close enough to be meaningful. They are watching, not approaching, not hiding, just watching. Mikhail lifts one hand, a gesture of calm. He does not reach for his rifle. He does not change his stance. He only nods once to show he has seen them. The wolves remain silent, their breath making small clouds in the freezing air. Then, as if responding to some silent command, they turn and disappear into the deeper trees with absolute grace. Yakov lets out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Why did they come so close? He asks. To know who we are, Mikhail says, to know if we are threat, prey, or simply neighbors. Which are we? Yakov asks. Mikhail smiles softly. Neighbors, I hope. They continue. The air thickens with snow dust. The light dims early. By mid-afternoon, the forest is gray, like dusk. Then, they reach a place that stops both of them. A clearing they did not expect. The snow is torn, kicked up in wild arcs, twigs broken, small pools of frozen blood, a struggle, a small one, nothing like a deer kill, something lighter, faster. Mikhail kneels. Cora circles wide, nose low. Fox and lynx, Mikhail says quietly. The lynx won. Yakov looks around nervously. Is it still here? No, lynx never stays, Mikhail replies. But something else might. What? Yakov asks. Mikhail looks at the trees, at the way the branches move slightly though there is no wind. Whatever smelled the blood. They move again, faster now. As the sky darkens, they decide to take the long path home. Wolves are near. A wolverine is somewhere close, and the storm is building. Mikhail chooses the safest route, even if it adds an hour. But then, halfway back, they find the river, frozen, finally frozen, a clean white sheet stretching into the distance. But something is wrong. Cora growls, low, serious, not like before. Mikhail steps forward slowly. There, across the ice, are tracks. Not deer, not moose, not fox. Large, deep, straight, a wolf pack, a full pack, crossing the river in the night, heading toward the ridge behind their home. Yakov feels the cold enter his spine. Are they coming to us? He asks. No, Mikhail says. They are passing. But their path is close, very close. Cora sniffs the air, every muscle tight. The forest has shifted again. Something is changing, and the wolves are part of it. They reach home after dark. Irina has lit 2 lamps. Anya runs to them with relief in her face. Yakov tells her only the soft parts of the day, the tea, the tracks, the frozen river, not the pack, not the lynx kill, not the erased trap. Irina watches Mikhail's face carefully as he removes his boots. You saw something, she says. Yes, Mikhail answers. Wolves, many. Near? Near enough, Anya touches her father's hand. Will they come here? Mikhail kneels down so he is eye level with her. They won't harm us. They have their life. We have ours. But we must be smart. That night, Yakov lies awake longer than usual. Cora sleeps at his feet but lightly, ears twitching at every noise. Outside, the wind rises, snow taps the window in soft rhythms. The house feels small inside the great white world. Yakov listens, thinks, tries to imagine the wolf pack moving through the dark trees. A family, like his, but guided by hunger, instinct, and winter itself. Somewhere far away for a brief moment, he hears a sound. A long, thin, rising note. A howl, not close, not far. A reminder, a promise, a warning. He falls asleep with the sound echoing inside him like a second heartbeat. The storm, the pack, and the long night in the forest. The next morning begins with a heavy sky. Not gray, lead gray. The type of sky that tells experienced people that something big is coming. Mikhail steps outside before the sun rises and looks toward the ridge where the wolf pack crossed. The trees stand too still. The air is too quiet. Even the birds are hiding. Inside, Irina feels the change too. She moves through the house with quick, precise hands. She adds more wood to the stove, brings extra blankets from the chest, fills the kettle to the top. Winter is not only cold, it is a long list of small preparations. Anya notices everything. She looks from her mother to her father to the silent dog near the door. "Is today dangerous?" she asks softly. Mikhail shakes his head gently. "Not dangerous, just important." Yakov knows what that means. Something will test them today. After breakfast, they prepare for the longest walk yet, checking the northern part of the line before the storm hits. It is the hardest route, steep, deep, and full of wind channels where snow moves fast like sand on a beach. Cora is tense but not afraid. He stays close to Yakov, his tail low and his ears forward. The dog knows the forest's moods better than any human. By the time they reach the upper ridge, the world has lost all color. Snow falls in small grains that sting the skin. The wind begins to rise in long breaths. They walk faster. At the second trap point, they find nothing. At the third, the snare is gone, completely. Not broken, not snapped. Gone. Yakov feels a cold touch in his stomach. "What could take a snare?" he asks. Mikhail answers slowly. "A wolf, carrying it away. Sometimes they do that when they want us to stop." "Stop what?" "Stop setting snares in their path." The idea shocks Yakov. Wolves giving warnings, wolves making decisions about humans. But he sees the truth in the snow. The marks are clear. A wolf pulled the snare, carried it a short distance, dropped it, and left. Not violence, not fear, communication. They walk deeper into the ridge until the forest narrows into a cold, dark hallway of birch and fir. Snow falls heavier now. The storm is building fast. "Father," Yakov says, "we should turn back." "Yes," Mikhail replies, "but carefully." They begin the return journey, and then Cora stops so suddenly that Yakov almost falls over him. The dog's body goes rigid, head high, ears forward, eyes fixed on the trees to the left. A second later, Mikhail sees it too, a shadow, then another, then a third, wolves, not two, a pack, 7, maybe 8, silent, watching, not moving forward, but not leaving. The snow between the two groups fills the space with a strange quiet. Yakov's heart beats hard. He's not terrified. He is alert, alive in a new way. Mikhail steps forward very slowly. He lowers his rifle to his side, not aiming, not threatening, just showing respect. He whispers to Yakov, "Stay behind, Cora. Do not run. Do not stare too long." The wolves stand in a crescent shape. Their breaths make small clouds that rise and disappear. Their eyes shine with cold intelligence. One wolf, larger than the others with thick gray fur, steps forward, not aggressively, just to observe. The leader. Cora does not bark. He does not whine. He stands like a stone, only the fur on his neck raised. Yakov feels something strange. This is not a confrontation. This is a meeting. A moment where two families, one human, one wolf, are measuring distance and meaning. Mikhail whispers, "They crossed last night. They do not want trouble. They want space." The wind shifts suddenly. It hits Yakov's face with sharp snowflakes. The wolves sense the storm before the humans do. One by one they turn, silent as shadows, and move into the deeper forest. Within seconds, they disappear completely. Yakov lets out a long breath. His legs feel weak. Cora licks his hand once, as if to say, "Good. You stayed calm." But then the wind strengthens. Snow falls sideways. The forest groans. The storm has arrived early. "We must get home fast," Mikhail says. His voice is steady, but Yakov sees the tension in his jaw. They hurry down the ridge. The path they made earlier is already disappearing under fresh snow. Cora leads, choosing the safest lines. The wind pushes against them like a living thing. By the time they reach the lower forest, the storm is in full force. The snow is thick and blinding. It moves in waves. Yakov can barely see Cora's tail. Then the world becomes a white wall. They lose the trail. For a few terrifying minutes, everything is noise. Wind, snow, heartbeats. Mikhail shouts, "Stay close," but the storm steals his voice. Cora turns sharply and pushes his body against Yakov's leg, guiding him. Yakov trusts the dog more than his own eyes. Then, through the blizzard, Yakov sees a shape, a dark mass, tall, wide, the old spruce, the one they used for shelter during the first storm. "This way," Mikhail shouts. They reach the spruce, gasping. Mikhail quickly builds a windbreak with branches, Cora pressing close to Yakov to keep him warm. They light the small stove with hands stiff from cold. Hours pass. The storm screams. The forest bends. The spruce holds. Inside the tiny shelter, Yakov feels small and huge at the same time. He thinks of the wolves out there, riding the storm, moving as one. "They will survive," Mikhail says, reading his thoughts. "Storms are their teachers, too." When the wind finally weakens, the world is silent again. A deep silence, like the forest is holding its breath. They start walking. And as they approach home, Yakov sees it, light in the window, Irina and Anya waiting. When the door opens, warm air hits his face like a blessing. Irina holds his shoulders hard, as if checking he is real. Anya traps him in a hug that almost knocks him over. Cora shakes the snow off and trots straight to the stove, lying down with a long, satisfied sigh. That night, they eat soup thicker than usual. The fire burns bright. The house feels like the center of the world. Later, when everyone sleeps, Yakov sits up and listens. The storm has left, but something else fills the night. A sound, soft, far, familiar. A howl, not a warning, not a cry. Just a voice saying, "We are here." Yakov whispers into the dark, "We are here too." And in that moment, he understands something deep and quiet. Winter is not the enemy. The forest is not the enemy. Fear is not the enemy. Only forgetting how to listen. He lies back down. Cora moves closer, resting his head on Yakov's feet. The boy closes his eyes. Outside, the wolves sing once more, a long, rising sound that travels across snow, trees, and the sleeping house. A song of survival, a song of families, a song of winter. And the long season continues. But Yakov no longer feels like a child walking behind his father. He feels like part of the map, part of the forest, part of the winter, part of the story.